Good evening, my dear students. Welcome to today's session for auditing and assurance subject. A very good evening to all of you. I can see Pooja, Surbhi, Sandeep, then Tanu. These students have already joined. And Nitin. And Nitin is saying that he is finding all these classes very amazing. So thank you, Nitin. And see, unless and until you also put your effort in learning, in following the techniques that are shared with you people, there is no use, So the maximum benefit that can be derived from these classes is by following 2 or 3 steps. What are those? That after the end of the session, you do read the chapter from the module. So far as auditing and assurance subject is concerned, this is what I believe. And then obviously learning the keywords, learning the definitions and learning the questions as told to every one of you in the last session by Rajesh Sachdeva sir. Okay? So with a very positive note, let us start with today's chapter, which is chapter number 9, Audit of Items of Financial Statements. Okay? Audit of Items of Financial Statement. So my first question to you people, quickly tell me, who is responsible for preparation of financial statements? Is it the management or the auditor? I know now you all are very quick in answering this question. Quickly send in your replies. Who is responsible for preparation of financial statements? Who is responsible? So students are saying it is the management of the client who is responsible for preparation and presentation of financial statements. Now students, tell me if there are no rules, no regulations, no framework with respect to which the companies have to prepare their financial statement, the companies have to present their financial statement, what will it lead to? So I can say it will lead to a situation whereby the management can easily manipulate the accounts. Let's say if the management has to inflate the profits in order to get, let's say, some loan, the management can very well do that. If the management has to suppress the profits, the management can very well do that. Why? Because there are no rules and regulations. If in our example, we suppose that there are no framework with respect to which the financial statements are prepared. Okay? So that is why, since a number of stakeholders are there with respect to the financial statements of a company, that is why there is a concept of generally accepted accounting principles, right? So the companies are required to prepare their financial statement in accordance with the framework of generally accepted accounting principles. Quickly tell me one of the generally accepted accounting principles that you all are definitely aware of. So I can say the accounting standards, if they are applicable to the company or the end AS. So the client, the management of the client is required to prepare and present the financial statement as per the requirements of the accounting standards. The presentation is required as per Schedule 3 to the Companies Act. So unless and until all these things are there, all these rules are there, the chances of accounts being manipulated, financial statements being manipulated by the management is high. Okay? So that is why the financial statements, when a company, we are talking basically about a company here. So when a company is presenting its financial statement, so those financial statements should be as per the accounting standards, right? Or the end AS if those are applicable. The disclosure should be as per Schedule 3 of the Companies Act. Then various provisions of Companies Act and whatever law and regulations are applicable to the client, the financial statement are required to be prepared in accordance with that. Okay? Now, when we as auditor, we are conducting an audit. If you remember, the definition of audit said it is an independent examination of financial information. I'm expecting that all of you have now learned the definition of the term audit. The basis of this entire subject, the definition of term audit. Okay? So when we are conducting the audit of the financial statement, what is it? It is basically an independent examination of financial information. Okay? And now we know that the companies are required to prepare their financial statement. They are required to present their financial information in accordance with all these provisions, rules or regulations. Okay? So when we are checking whether financial statements reflect a true and fair view, first of all, we as auditors, we need to have a knowledge of all these provisions. If you remember in your chapter number 1, we studied about the various disciplines with which we studied about the relationship of various disciplines with audit. That is, the auditor needs an understanding of all the subjects, whereby you studied accounting, you studied law. So in this chapter, we'll be seeing that the auditor is examining the various items of financial statement, and students, unless and until we have an understanding as to how the various items of financial statement needs to be reflected, needs to be accounted for in the books of account, we cannot conduct the audit of such items of financial statement. And students, I always tell you that these topics are very much interrelated. In chapter number 1, you studied about various disciplines. In chapter number 3, audit documentation and audit evidence, if you remember, when I was discussing with you the topic of assertion, I told you that there is a paragraph in the book which beautifully explains the entire concept of assertion. What was it? It said that the auditor has to give his opinion on the financial statement as a whole. However, unless and until he is sure about or he obtains audit evidence with respect to each item of the financial statement, he cannot give his opinion on the financial statement as a whole. Okay? So that is why in this chapter, we will be studying as to how the various items of financial statement, be it income expense statement like P&L account item, or be it any balance sheet item, or be it any disclosure. So how the auditor is going to examine such item of the financial statement. And students, you are going to find this chapter very interesting. Why? Because you will see when in your articleship or when you have completed your CA, you become full-fledged CA and you are conducting the audit on your own, you will be actually following all these steps, right? For example, we will be studying today about audit of share capital. And you will be surprised to know that practical implementation, when you are practically checking the share capital of an organization, you will be applying all these steps, all these audit procedures only. Okay? So in this chapter, I assume that you are very well versed with various provision of Companies Act 2013. That is, you have already studied in your law subject. Then the accounting standards that you have studied in your accounting subject. And in case any query is still there, obviously I'm going to touch upon all these topics. Okay? So we are studying about what? Audit of items of financial statement. Okay? One more thing. Let me give you an example. Suppose the management has to tell its users of the financial statement that that is the client, that is the company, is having a building of 1 crore. Okay? So I have given the same example in chapter number 3. So when the management is telling the users of the financial statement that the company is having a building of 1 crore, we have seen that with respect to this item, a number of assertions also come into place. a number of assertion like this building actually exists. The company is having the right over this building. Okay? So all these things we are going to check. See, this is what my financial statement of the client. And when I, as an auditor, I check these items of the financial statement, and in turn, all items of the financial statement, and I put my signature, these become what? Audited financial statement. And you all know that once the financial statement has been audited by the auditor, the confidence of the users of this financial statement increases. Okay? So when management is giving certain information in the financial statement, we have to check those information, those items, and then those become audited financial statement, which are used by the users of the financial statement with more confidence. Okay? So this was the base of this chapter. And the second thing that I want to repeat here is the topic of assertion, which I have already discussed with you in chapter number 3 in quite detail. But since this entire chapter is based on the concept of assertion, so I'll be touching upon this topic again. So for all those who have by chance not attended those lectures, first of all, I would request you to please go through all the videos till chapter number 8, okay, because all the chapters are interrelated. Okay. Secondly, in case you were not able to ask any query or anything like that, so this is the chance for you, because we are discussing this assertion topic again. Okay. So when the management has to tell the users of the financial statement that our client, that the company is having a building worth ₹1 crore. So what is the option that is available to the management? Will management pick up the mic? Will management just pick up the mic and start announcing that, listen, we have a building of 1 crore, we have inventory of say 50 lakhs? No. Or will it get it advertised in the newspaper? No, nothing like that. So what is the option? Management will simply declare, or I can say represent, or I can say assert such information in the financial statement. That is, management will simply with confidence put all that information in the financial statement. So whatever information is given by the management in the financial statement is nothing but what? Assertion. So what is the definition of word assertion? And students, as I always tell you, that try to learn, try to understand by breaking the concept into parts. So here I've broken this definition, which is given in your module, in 2 parts. Okay? So see, first of all, with respect to assertion, something management has to do. And with respect to the same assertion, there is certain responsibility on the auditor also. Okay? Why? Because we are checking those assertions only. So let us have a look at the definition quickly. Representations. What is the dictionary meaning of assertion? The dictionary meaning is what? Declaration, or what? Representation itself. So, or you can say in a very common language that saying something with confidence. So management is representing that the company is having a building worth ₹1 crore. So representations by management. Who is making those representations? Is it the auditor? Nahi. Auditor is just checking those representations. Management is having the information about the financial information because they are involved in preparation and presentation of financial information. So these are what? Representations by management. Explicit. What is the dictionary meaning of explicit? Expressed. That is specifically mentioned in the financial statement, or otherwise. What is the dictionary meaning of word otherwise? Otherwise is basically what? Opposite of explicit, which is what? Implied. That is implicit. So representations by management. Management is saying something confidently. Okay. How? Either expressly mentioned in the financial statement, or either it is what? Implied. Okay. Where? That are embodied. What is the dictionary meaning of word embodied? Included in the financial statement. So this is just one part of the definition. So let us just concentrate on this part. Representation by management. Management is saying something confidently that yes, our company is having inventory worth rupees 50 lakhs. Our company is having building worth rupees say 5 crores. है ना? So representations by management. Our company had an income from sales worth rupees say 50 lakhs. है ना? So representations by management. Explicit, whether expressed specifically or otherwise, that is implied. Let me give you an example of implied. So if a building of rupees 1 crore is there, okay, tell me, will there be written that this building actually exists? Will these words be written in the financial statement, or only building worth rupees 1 crore will be written? So it will not be written that this building actually exists. Why? Because this is implied. That if management is representing, management is asserting that there is a building worth rupees 1 crore, so it is implied. The users of the financial statement will infer, they will assume that this building exists. Okay? Is it written that the company is having the right over this building? So specifically, explicitly, it is not mentioned now, but this is what, this is again implied, that if building worth rupees or the historical cost of the building is 1 crore, which has been given in the financial statement, in the balance sheet, it is implied, it is assumed by the users of the financial statement that the company is having a right over such building. So this is the meaning of what implicit, otherwise is what implied, okay, that are included in the financial statement. All these things, see, building will come in what? Balance sheet. Balance sheet is one of the part of the financial statement. Sales, expenses, everything is going to come in the P&L, which is the part of the financial statement. So this is just the first part of the definition of assertion. So we have studied in the first part the relationship of assertion with management. Now we are considering what is the relationship of the assertion with auditor, how auditor uses such assertion. See, I told you that in a layman language, assertion is whatever information is given in the financial statement. And students tell me, we as auditor, we examine only such information, na? Whatever information is given in the financial statement, वही तो check करते हैं, उसी के बाद तो बताते हैं ना, whether financial statement reflected true and fair view. So can I say that auditor examines all these assertions only? है ना? So as used by the auditor, ठीक है, ऑडिटर इसी assertion को, इन्हीं assertions को यूज करता है जो कि मैनेजमेंट ने दिए हैं explicitly or otherwise embodied in the financial statement. So this is the second part of the definition, as used by the auditor to consider different types of potential misstatements. Potential word is very, very important here. Here is very important because it shows that abhi auditor ko nahi pata hai whether misstatement is there or not. It may occur, potential, likely, है ना? So the first part of the definition says that the representations are given by whom? Management. And the second part says that those representations are used by the auditor to consider different type of potential misstatement that may occur. ठीक है? So this is the definition of assertion, and in a very simple language, basically whatever is information is given by the management in the financial statement is nothing but assertion, and we as auditors, we have to check all those assertions if we have to give our opinion on the financial statement as a whole. Okay? So I can say that a P&L, a balance sheet, it consists of what? Number of items. With respect to each and every item, there are number of assertions. So we as auditors, we are checking each and every assertion about each and every item of the financial statement, and then only we are in a position to give our opinion on the financial statement as a whole. So quickly tell me whether the definition of term assertion is clear. And in order to learn what is the technique here, just try to understand the concept that this assertion definition is divided into two parts. Management ही assert करता है और auditor उन्हीं assertion को use करता है, ठीक है? And about the language part, how to write, let us just have a look at the definition given in your module. So very, very important definition. And now many of you have started writing that, ma'am, we have started learning 5 definitions a day. Okay? That is very good. Okay? It refers to the representations by management, explicit or otherwise, that are embodied in the financial statement. See, I've told you that embodied, the dictionary meaning is included. Okay? But as I told you that there is a commanded language for every subject. So try to use these words only. And these are not tough. These are simple English words. So refers to the representations by management, explicit or otherwise, that are embodied in the financial statement. This was one part. Okay. As used by the auditor to consider different types of potential misstatements that may occur. Potential misstatements that may occur. So tell me whether this definition of term assertion is clear or not. In case you have any doubt, please let me know. I'll clarify it here only. Okay? Because now in this chapter, we'll be using this concept again and again. And we did this topic first time in chapter number 3, and now we are doing it in chapter number 9. After that, there is no repetition. Okay? But yes, it is a very important topic. So is it clear to all of you? Okay. Now, in order to further understand with respect to the assertions, with respect to various items, let us try to understand. See, let me just bifurcate the information that is given by the management in the financial statement in 2 parts. That some assertions are given by the management in P&L, the income statement, and some assertions are given by management in the balance sheet. Okay? So now what we are going to discuss, we are going to discuss the various assertions with respect to various item of P&L. And then we'll be discussing about various assertions with respect to the items of balance sheet. Now, you may feel that, ma'am, why there is a difference? So, students, as such, there is not a very, there is not very much difference between these assertions. But since the nature of the items that are appearing in the P&L is such that they represent the transactions that happen during the year. So, the assertions are some like, for example, let me just try to explain the difference here only. Let's say there is a sale of rupees 20 lakhs. So with respect to the sales, these are what these sales transactions have occurred during the year. So I can say that when the management is showing sales at 20 lakhs, management is giving an implied assertion that this sales have actually occurred during the year. Okay? The sales are what? They are accumulation of the transactions that have occurred during the year. So that is why, what is the assertion with respect to this item? Occurrence. Okay. Now, with respect to balance sheet item, again, let us take example of building. Can I say that this building occurred as on 31st March 2021? No. Because the nature of the balance sheet item is such that they represent the balance as on a particular date. But yes, I can always say that this building existed as on 31st March 2021. So the corresponding assertion for the balance sheet item is what? Existence. So when the management is showing that sales worth rupees 20 lakhs, so it is giving one of the implied assertion that they have actually occurred. So I can say with respect to the P&L or the income expense statement, there are what? Occurrence assertion is one of the assertions. However, with respect to the balance sheet item, I cannot say that this creditor occurred. They existed as on 31st March. So the corresponding assertion with respect to the balance sheet item is what? Existence. Okay? So now, so now we will be discussing about the assertion with respect to the income statement and with respect to what? Your balance sheet item. And Pooja is saying, ma'am, you have discussed assertion. This is a third time, right, Pooja? You are correct. In chapter number 1 also, we discussed about assertion in we discussed about it in brief. Okay? So income statement. So I'll be taking example of sales. Rupees 20 lakhs. Okay? So, and let us take our client is what? XYZ Limited. So when a sale of rupees 20 lakhs is shown in the P&L of XYZ Limited, so basically that P&L account is telling the users of the financial statement that the sales of rupees 20 lakhs have actually occurred during the year and they relate to XYZ Limited. Okay? So see, all these line assets are not mentioned anywhere. It will not be mentioned in the P&L that they have actually occurred, they relate to XYZ Limited. Nahi, but this is what? This is implied assertion. This is one of the implied assertion that if sales of rupees 20 lakhs is mentioned, it means that it has actually occurred during the year and it relate to the entity, that is in our case XYZ Limited. So I can say occurrence assertion is there with respect to the P&L item, and the example we took is what? Sales worth rupees 20 lakhs. Okay? So occurrence. Okay? Now the second assertion that is implied is what? Completeness. What is meant by completeness? That all sales, all, the keyword here is what? All sales. All sales that were supposed to be recorded in the P&L account has actually been recorded, and none of the sales is omitted from being recorded. Okay? So this is implied completeness assertion. As such, management will not keep on telling the users of the financial statement, now he sees this 20 lakhs, now it includes all the sales. None of the sales has been omitted. This is an implied assertion, which is assumed by the users of all the sale. Na koi sale omit to nahi ho gayi hai na, So what is this? This is what? The completeness assertion. Okay? Third, cut off. See, try to understand. You are cutting off. That is till 31st March 2021. Till the end of the financial period, only the sales are coming in this financial period. It should not happen that if we are conducting the audit of, let's say, financial year 2021, it should not happen that the sales for the month April 21 is also included in this year. No, this 20 lakh sale pertains to the sales of the correct period. It is not including any sales of the prior period or the next period. And again, this is one of the assertions. When 20 lakhs as sale has been given by the management of XYZ Limited, the P&L account is saying to you that, listen, users of the financial statement, this is what pertains to financial year 2021. Cut off 1st April 2020 to 31st March 2021. So cut off pertaining to this year only. Try to understand by the name of by the nomenclature, by the name itself. Cut off. Okay? They pertains to the sales appearing that have taken place during the financial year 2021. And the sales that have occurred after that or prior to that period, they are not included in the sales of financial year 2021. So occurrence assertion we have discussed, completeness assertion we have discussed, cut-off assertion and measurement. So when sales of 20 lakhs are given, the users of the financial statement are going to assume that these sales are measured accurately. If any discount has been given, that has been appropriately, that has been accurately measured, accurately calculated. Measurement assertion. See, management is not going to come and tell you that, see, ये sales ठीक से calculate हुआ है. This is assumed. हाँ, उसको check करना is the responsibility of the auditor. And when we check all the assertions, the financial statements become what? Audited financial statements. Hana? So measurement is what? That the calculation I gave you example of what sales. The discount has been appropriately, correctly calculated, measurement, assertion. And the last assertion is what? Presentation and disclosure. That is the presentation and disclosure as is required, let's say by the Companies Act, Schedule 3 of the Companies Act, that the presentation that has been given by the management in the financial statement is also correct. Okay? So with respect to revenue, when the presentation is given, it means that sales of products, sales of services, and other operating revenue are correctly shown. It is not happening that other operating revenue is also added here. So the presentation and disclosure is also correct, and this is what will be assumed by the user of the financial statement. And we will tell the users that users of the financial statement, please wait. Let us first audit the financial statement. Let us first check all these assertions. Then you rely on the audited financial statements. Okay? So these are about the various presentations and various assertions with respect to the P&L item. Let us quickly have a look at these assertions from the module, and then we'll be going to what? To the balance sheet item. So occurrence assertion, that the transactions recognized in the financial statement have occurred and they relate to the entity. Students, these are the examples which very well explain all these assertions. I've taken one example from these only. You can read the rest of the example, the other example at home as homework. And if you go through these examples now, these concepts are going to be very clear to all of you. Okay? So occurrence is what? These have actually occurred and relate. Like recorded sales represent goods which were ordered by valid customers and were dispatched and invoiced in the period. Okay? Then completeness. All transactions that were supposed to be recorded have been recognized in the financial statement. None of the transaction has been omitted. All genuine sales. Example, all genuine sales has been recorded. Cut off. Whether all income and expenses are reported in the correct accounting period. So the keyword here is what? Correct accounting period. Example, sales shall include the dispatch of goods made at the year end as they belong to the relevant period. Okay? Then measurement. Transactions have been recorded accurately at their appropriate amounts. There have been no errors while preparing documents or posting transactions. The figures and explanations are not misstated. Example, sales are recorded correctly in books based on the invoices. Discounts have been properly adjusted or accounted for. Okay? And last but not the least is presentation and disclosure. That is, the transactions have been classified and presented, disclosed fairly. The presentation and disclosure is what? Complete and accurate. Okay? An example, the revenue shall be disclosed separately as revenue arising from sale of products, sale of services, and other operating revenues. So this was all about assertion with respect to the P&L items. Now let us move on to the assertion with respect to the balance sheet items. Okay? So balance sheet captions comprising assets, liabilities, and equity balances. So as I told you that with respect to the balance sheet item, we will not say that this building occurred as on 31st March 2021. But yes, we can always say that this building existed as on 31st March 2021. So when the management, when the books of accounts, the financial statements of the client shows that there is a building, let us take the example of building again. What the historical cost of which is rupees 1 crore, it wants to say that this building actually exists at the period end. Okay? At the period end. Okay? Completeness is the same, that all building that was supposed to be recorded in the books of accounts have been recorded in the books of accounts. Or let us take another example with respect to inventory. So example can be like the inventory that was supposed to be recorded, that all inventory has been included. Okay? If any inventory has been kept by the client on behalf of the third party, that has not been included. However, if any inventory of the client which has been kept with the third party, let's say for job work, that has been included irrespective of its location. मतलब जो inventory client के पास है, that should come, so that has been included. ठीक है. क्लाइंट की इन्वेंट्री जो किसी के पास रखी है, लेट्स से वेयर हाउस में या किसी जॉब वर्क के लिए, तो दैट वाज सपोज टू बी इंक्लूडेड, दैट हैज आल्सो बीन इंक्लूडेड. एंड इफ क्लाइंट के पास कोई इन्वेंट्री है थर्ड पार्टी की which you have taken, let's say on job work basis, so that does not belong to the client now, so that has not been included. So completeness, all inventory that was supposed to be recorded in the books of accounts have been recorded. So completeness. Then cut off, the inventory that pertains to the current period only, correct period, that has been included. It should not happen that the inventory pertains to the next year. It has been purchased next year. However, it has been included in this year. No, this should not happen. It should not happen that the building is purchased in April 21 and it has been included in financial year 2021. No, this is not going to happen. So it is implied the management, when the balance sheet contains a building whereby the historical cost is shown at ₹1 crore, the balance sheet is telling the users of the financial statement that users of the financial statement, listen, this building actually exists. You can assume this. This building is all the building which is supposed to be recorded, and this building pertains to the current accounting period. Okay? Now, as I told you that with respect to balance sheet item, you cannot say that this building occurred. Same way, you cannot say that this building is measured correctly. You will always say this building is what? Valued correctly. The depreciation has been calculated properly, accurately. So, though the main point behind this assertion is same. In P&L, we understood it by the name of what? Measurement. The calculation is correct. Here also, the gist is same, but the nomenclature will be what? Valuation. Because we do not measure building now, we value building. So valuation assertion, it wants to say that it has been valued accurately. With respect to debtors, the provision for debtors has been calculated accurately. With respect to building, depreciation has been charged accurately. Okay? Then presentation and disclosure, rights and obligations I'll be taking just now. Presentations and disclosure. It wants to say that whatever presentation and disclosure has been given with respect to a particular item of balance sheet, it is implied that it is correct. For example, with respect to share capital, we will be discussing just now that Schedule 3 says that there is a set of format in which the share capital needs to be presented and disclosed. So when the share capital amount has been shown, all the disclosures have been shown in the books in the financial statement, the balance sheet is telling the users of the financial statement that everything has been presented and disclosed accurately. Everything has been presented and classified accurately as was required by the applicable FRF. Okay? Now, one very important assertion is another important assertion is what? Rights and obligations. I told you, is it mentioned? I asked you in fact that is it mentioned somewhere that the client owns this building? No. It is implied assertion that if any asset has been given in the balance sheet, it means the company is having the right over that asset. And if it is any liability has been given, creditors are there, loans are there, then these are what? The financial obligations of the client. Okay? So these are all the assertions with respect to what? Your balance sheet item. So I can say that with respect to okay, before that, let me just take you through the module. So existence, assets and liabilities exist at the period end. The example of inventory has been explained, and if you read all these examples now, you will see these examples pertains to inventory. Okay? You will find that all your audit procedures with respect to inventory will be done here only if you go through these examples. Okay? Further, we'll be doing inventory in detail in this chapter, but just read them with concentration. The concepts are going to be very clear to all of you. ठीक है. Completeness. So with respect to existence, that inventory recognized in the balance sheet actually existed as at the period end. 31st March को ये actually exist करती है. ठीक है. Completeness. All. I told you the keyword is what? All. Assets and liabilities that were supposed to be recorded have been recognized in the financial statement. Now read this example. So it says, all inventory units held by the entity that should have been recorded have been recognized appropriately. Any inventory held by a third party on behalf of the entity, that is the client, has been included. क्यों? Because वो client की inventory है ना, has been included. Inventory held by entity as a consignee on behalf of the third party shall be excluded. Why? Because वो third party की inventory है ना, you have held that inventory maybe for some job work, so that will not be included. Cut off. Whether all assets and liabilities are reported in the appropriate period, that is, all items of inventory pertaining to relevant year shall be included regardless of the location. Valuation. Assets and liabilities have been valued appropriately. AS2 says that the inventory needs to be valued. What is this? Just a minute. So the inventory needs to be valued at, recognized at lower of cost or NRV. So whether that has been done. Hai na? So valuation. Rights and obligation. Entity has the right to the assets. And liabilities recognized in the financial statement represent the entity's obligations. So rights and obligations. So these are what implied assertions. Okay? So again, inventory wala example is given. You can just check. And disclosure and presentation. That is, it is classified, described, and disclosed accurately. Hana? Example. For share capital, a reconciliation of the number of shares outstanding at the beginning and at the end of the reporting period has been given. So this is just one part of the disclosure with respect to share capital. We'll be discussing the entire presentation disclosure as required by Schedule 3 in detail in this chapter. Okay? So I can say that with respect to the P&L item, the auditor needs to check what? Occurrence, completeness, cutoff, measurement, and presentation and disclosure. And with respect to the balance sheet item, the auditor has to check occurrence ka counterpart is what? Existence here. Completeness is same. Cutoff, measurement ka counterpart is what here? Valuation. Presentation and disclosure are same. And the last with respect to the balance sheet item is what? Rights and obligations. Okay? So for all those students who are saying video is buffering, please refresh your page. It will be fine. Okay? So students, with this we have understood now much in detail as to what assertions basically are and what are the different type of assertions with respect to the balance sheet item and the P&L item. Now students, in the rest the rest of the chapter, what we'll be doing, we'll be discussing about as to how the auditor, if he has to check the various assertions with respect to the various items of the financial statement, let's say with respect to balance sheet, if he has to check share capital. So with respect to completeness, existence, valuation of share capital, what all audit procedures he has to perform. Okay? Same way with respect to, let's say, debtors, valuation, presentation, disclosure, the completeness. So all these assertions, how he'll be checking. Okay? Further students, before starting with the various items of financial statement that has been discussed in the module, I would like to tell you one thing here, that in the exam, it might be possible that you may get an item of the financial statement which is not discussed in the module. Okay? Why? Because there are number of items that appear in the financial statements of an organization, of a client, and maximum number of the items are discussed in the module. But since it is a professional exam, okay, a lot of is expected out of you. So you may get any item of the financial statement which we might not have discussed in the class. Okay? Now, what to do in that situation, students? Now you all are very well versed as to what are the various assertions with respect to the P&L items that the auditor has to check, and with respect to the balance sheet items that the auditor has to check. Okay? Now, if you get any such item, you can always think, अच्छा occurrence होता है balance sheet के लिए, तो उसको check करने के लिए क्या करना पड़ेगा? Just apply your minds, you will be able to answer the question correctly. Why? Because now you know that with respect to a particular item, these are the assertions that the auditor will be checking. And in order to check these assertions, the auditor will be performing certain procedures. Okay? So, since we are discussing various items of balance sheet and P&L, तो उससे आपको idea लग जाएगा as to what you are supposed to write in case you get any item of the financial statement which we haven't discussed. And also, now since your understanding with respect to the assertions with respect to P&L and balance sheet item is very much clear. So writing about any of the audit procedures required for checking any item which is not discussed is going to be a cakewalk for you. I am sure about that. Okay? So now, before starting with the first item, which is share capital, which is discussed in the module, I want all of you to please reply whether the topic which we have discussed in today's session so far, whether it is clear or not. Quickly send in your replies. Send in your replies. Pooja is saying, ma'am, crisp and clear till now. Chalo, good. Sandeep is also saying that he is starting learning 5 definitions every day, which is very good. Pooja is saying, ma'am, by heart example yaad ho gaye. Chalo, good. No, Tanu, potential does not mean material. Potential means likely, possible. Let me just have a look at the queries once. So, Shrishti is saying, many congratulations, Shrishti. She is saying that, ma'am, your techniques for revision, notes and preparation and conceptual clarity has helped her a lot. And she has secured 70 marks in audit and cleared both groups in first attempt. Shrishti, we are so happy for you and many, many congratulations to you and your family. So she has specially come to the today's session to, gives this message. So that's good. And it is actually very, it feels very good when students, say this, all of these. So she got 70 marks. So students, securing 70 marks is like really possible in auditing and assurance, and in fact more than that. And as she's saying that, yes, you will have to follow the techniques, the notes, you will have to listen to the concepts that are discussed in the sessions. Okay? And I remember that Shrishti always used to tell me that, ma'am, I have done the homework that you have given. I have gone through the module the way you said. Okay? So students, you can also secure the marks the way she secured. And Shrishti, again, many, many congratulations. 70 marks are really very good. Chalo, good. So, chalo, theek hai. So, balance sheet. So, we are starting with balance sheet captions, and the first that has been discussed is what? Share capital. Theek hai. So, with respect to share capital, and now students, as you can see, like I read in front of you the message from Shrishti. She said the techniques that were discussed in the class, those techniques have helped her score 70 marks in auditing and assurance. So the technique with respect as to how you will be studying this chapter is try to summarize the audit procedures that are given in detail. You will see that this chapter, before summary, it is for 404 pages. Okay? A very important chapters, and you can just write, the general answers. You need to write the specific answers. You need to write the commanded language that is required, and how to to do that, we'll be discussing when we'll be discussing this share capital topic. Okay? Now, before starting with share capital, students, I'm assuming here that various concepts with respect to issue of share capital, like your prospectus, underwriting commission, minimum subscription, return of allotment, all these you have already studied in your law. However, as and when these topics are coming, I'll touch upon them. And in case you have any query, you can always ask me. Okay? Students, here I would like to stop and tell you a very important thing, that in the students knowledge portal, there is one document with the name revision in BOS publication. Okay? Revision in BOS publication. Okay? For students appearing in May 2022 examination. Okay? And here it has been mentioned that the students who are having the printed copy, the students who are having the printed copy of the module, with respect to the topic shares issued at discount, you need to read it from here and not from the printed copy in the module. This specific topic, Hana, this specific topic, you need to read it from here. It is given where? It is given in the revision in BOS publication, which is available in your BOS, in your student section, like where you go to the intermediate level and auditing insurance now. There you will find the revision in BOS publication, and section 53 of the Companies Act 2013 with respect to shares issued at discount, you need to read it from here. Okay? Also, in the soft copy that is available on your ICAI website, this has already been changed. So when you are going through the printed copy that is available with you, the hard copy, the books, please refer to the soft copy that is available on the ICAI module for this particular section. Okay? Further, in your RTPs also, you will be getting the questions on this topic. So do not refer to this topic from the printed module that you all have. With this particular topic, only this topic in chapter number 9, sirf ye wala topic, and I'll tell you, it is coming on page number 9.10 in the printed copies that you have. So wahan pe don't refer to that printed copy. Refer to either the ICAI module which has been uploaded on the website, because that has been changed there also, or in this revision of BOS publication. Okay? Clear? Clear? Okay. So when I'll be discussing this share wala topic at discount, then also I'll be repeating it, but this was important, so I have announced it here also. So I'm assuming that all these terms with respect to, prospectus. Just a minute, what happened? With respect to prospectus, your allotment of shares, your minimum subscription, your underwriting contracts, your concepts are clear. I'll be touching upon these concepts also. Okay? So now when we as an auditor, we have to check the financial statements, and when we are checking specifically the share capital, that is the existence assertion, the completeness assertion, and the valuation assertion. So what audit procedures we'll be doing? So how we can check? We can check by performing audit procedures. So what audit procedures we as an auditor are we going to perform when we are checking the share capital? Okay? Now, we'll be discussing every point in detail one by one. See, quickly tell me, if I ask you to see that, please see whether with respect to this client, whether any new capital, fresh capital has been issued or not. What is the first audit procedure? What is the first document that you are going to inspect? So audit procedure, so I have told you what inspection. So which document are you going to inspect? Pooja, I'll upload this revision in BOS publication in the PPT section. Okay. Okay, quickly tell me, what is the first audit procedure, which is the first procedure which you are going to perform when I have asked you to check whether there is any movement in the share capital during the year? How can I get to know this? Very simple. Quickly send in your replies. So students, there is another student, Nitin Agarwal. I can't stop myself. And he's also saying that I've attended your classes at VCC last year. These are really amazing. I want to thank you for your wonderful teaching. And because of your teaching, I'm able to clear both the groups in the CA intermediate group. So so students are actually, taking the benefit of this great initiative by our institute. Hana? So thank you, Nitin, and thank you, Shrishti. I'm overwhelmed. Thank you so much. So now students are saying that with respect to checking of equity share. So see, the first and foremost document is what? The audited financial statement. Okay? So the audited financial statement of this year, the closing balance of share capital that is coming, and the audited financial statement of previous year, that is the closing of the last year, which has become the opening this year. First of all, I'll check them now if there is any increase in the share capital or any decrease, like any fresh issue has been there or any redemption has been there or not. So first of all, I'll be checking the audited financial statement of the period end, that is this year closing, and with respect I'll be comparing it with the balance that is appearing in the previous year. Okay. Now when I check, I can see that last year the closing of share capital was 10 crores or is saal ka closing is also 10 crores. That is, there is no change. So tell me, what should be my next audit procedure with respect to this? Should I just be satisfied that there is no change? I will obtain a confirmation from the company secretary of the company that please give this to me in writing that during the year there has been no change in the share capital. Okay? And if there has been a change in the share capital, first of all, now your concepts of company law. Tell me quickly, what is authorized capital? I need answers in a line or two. Quickly tell me about authorized capital. So it is the maximum capital that can be issued, and where is it mentioned? In the memorandum of association. So when there is a change, I will have to perform an audit procedure in order to be sure that this is within the limit of authorized capital. So I'll check what? Memorandum of association of an organization. Okay? So with respect to share capital, first and foremost, I'll check the audited financial statement. As simple as that. इस साल का closing लिया, last year का closing लिया, दोनों को compare किया, पता चल जाएगा कि whether there is any movement or not. If there is no change, get a confirmation from company secretary. If there is a change, then within the limits of authorized capital है या नहीं, उसके लिए memorandum of association check करेंगे. And whenever there is a change, the resolution of the board of directors, the shareholders, unko check karenge. The auditor will check what? The minutes of the meetings, the resolutions that have been passed by the board of directors and the shareholders. Okay? So students, try to summarize all the audit procedures in this way. Okay? Try to use your own techniques. If you are comfortable in, learning from the module itself by reading between the lines, then that is also fine. If you want to summarize it, so this is the technique, how you can summarize. Okay? Now, if there is any fresh issue, so what will we check? See, when I started this chapter, I told you that the management prepares the financial statement. The management has to comply with what? Accounting standards. Schedule 3, the various provision of the Companies Act. Now, if I have to check whether management has prepared and presented financial statement correctly, I will have to check these provisions also now. So same way with respect to issue of share capital, fresh issue, the auditor will have to check whether the provisions of the Companies Act 2013 with respect to issue of fresh share capital has been complied with or not, and what can be all those, that whether the company has filed the return of allotment, you all must have done in your company law, whether minimum subscription has been received or not, whether minimum application money has been received or not, whether separate bank account was opened or not with respect to the whatever was received with respect to the new issue, and whether the underwriting commission has been paid or not. What is the section with respect to payment of underwriting commission? Section 40 of the Companies Act. So I, as an auditor, I check all these. Further, I'll also check that no share should have been issued at what discount. And where is it given? Section 53 of the Companies Act. However, there are two exceptions which we'll be discussing in detail. Okay? Then we will see whether the shares are issued for cash. And if they are issued for consideration other than cash, quickly tell me to whom the shares can be issued for consideration other than cash. I'm waiting for your replies. Pooja, you are correct. Audited current year का नहीं होगा, current year का financial statement होगा और last year का audited financial statement होगा. Noted your point. ठीक है? And what was my query to you? That issued for consideration other than cash किसको होगा? See, to the promoters, to the underwriters. ठीक है? तो उस case में what will auditor check? That whether it is as per the contracts, whether the board's resolution has been passed or not, whether proper accounting treatment has been done or not, and students, when the shares are issued for consideration other than cash, then whether the same has been disclosed appropriately or not. Okay? And the same should also have been disclosed where? In the return of allotment. Okay? Then if the shares are listed, then whether the SEBI regulations or guidelines have been followed or not. And students, various forms are to be filled by the company when the shares are issued, like Asset 7, PAS 3, and FCGPR. See, Asset 7 is what? For increase in the authorized capital, it is to be filed with the MCA. PAS 3 is for increase in the paid up capital. Again, it is to be filed with the MCA. And with respect to FCGPR, when any foreign direct investment by a non-resident is made, this form is to be submitted with what? With whom? With RBI. Okay? What is this FCGPR? Foreign currency. You need not write it, just for your knowledge I am telling you. Foreign currency gross provisional return. So the company needs to file it with what? With the RBI. Okay? So we will see whether the same has been done. And students, you all know that when the issue of shares has been made, then the company is required to pay certain fees, certain stamp duty to the MCA. So we will see whether the same has been paid or not. So as simple as that. So whatever you have already studied in your Companies Act with respect to the various provisions relating to what the share capital, the issue of share capital, we as an auditor, when we are analyzing as to whether, when we are auditing, examining the share capital of an organization, we will be checking whether all those requirements as are required by the Companies Act has been done or not. So first of all, we'll be checking the previous year audited financial statement and this year financial statement, right, Pooja? Then we'll be checking if there has been no change. We'll obtain a confirmation from the company secretary. If there has been a change, then whether it is within the limits of authorized capital, memorandum of association से check कर लोगे, resolution से देख लोगे, board of directors के, shareholders के. Fresh issues है तो various provisions of the Companies Act, ठीक है, return of allotment file किया नहीं, minimum subscription 90% का आया था नहीं, minimum application money आया था नहीं, separate bank account open हुआ है नहीं, payment of underwriting commission as per section 40 हुआ है या नहीं, and auditor will make sure he'll see that the shares are not issued at a discount, section 53 के according. However, there are two exceptions which we'll be discussing. Then shares issued for cash or for consideration other than cash. If they are issued for consideration other than cash, auditor will see the contract, whether the resolutions are passed or not, whether proper disclosure in return of allotment in the financial statement has been made or not. Okay? Proper accounting treatment has been done or not. Yes, Khushi, you are right. The shares are issued for consideration other than cash. Examples can be what? Promoters and underwriters. Then if the shares are listed on stock exchange, then SEBI regulations, various forms and the fees. So this is all about the audit with respect to completeness, existence and valuation of what? Your share capital. Okay? And students are saying that Okay. Pooja, you are absolutely right. She's saying that, ma'am, we have already studied all these in Companies Act and we need to check that whether whatever provisions are there in the Companies Act with respect to share capital, whether the management, the client has complied with all those provisions or not. Okay. Absolutely correct. Okay. Shares issued at premium. Quickly tell me the relevant section as per the Companies Act with respect to this. Shares issued at premium. The section number, section what? Parth has answered correctly. I need more reply. Acha. I'll not write the section. I need more replies, students. Quickly send in your replies. I have received a reply of Parth only, section 52. अरे मैंने आंसर बताया था. Section 52 of the Companies Act है ना, securities premium पे. So what is securities premium? Premium क्या होता है? If the nominal value is let's say 10 and if the issue price is 15, so this 5 rupees is what? Premium. So with respect to the shares issued at a premium, auditor को क्या चेक करना है? सबसे पहले तो ये चेक करना है कि ये जो premium account, the premium amount है, whether this has been transferred to a separate securities premium account. ठीक है, सिक्योरिटीज प्रीमियम अकाउंट ये सेपरेट अकाउंट में ट्रांसफर हुआ है या नहीं, एंड सेकेंडली वेदर इट हैज बीन यूज्ड फॉर द पर्पसेस, स्पेसिफिक पर्पसेस व्हिच हैज बीन गिवन बाय सेक्शन 52 ऑफ द कंपनीज एक्ट. ठीक है, सो ये दोनों चीजें ऑडिटर को चेक करना होगा. ठीक है, सो first of all, we have said that this premium account should have been transferred to a separate securities premium account and it should have been used for the purposes which has been specified in where? In section 52. So quickly tell me what are the purposes for which this share premium amount can be utilized. So I can say, okay, let me just take you through the module itself because you all have already done in your company law. So shares issued at a premium is what? Section 52, and it provides that a company shall transfer the amount received as premium to securities premium account and state the purpose for which the amount can be applied. तो यही दोनों बातें चेक करनी होती है. ठीक है, now the application of securities premium account can be done for the following purposes. I'm sure that you all are already aware about all these 5 points, but let us just quickly have a look. Towards the issue of the unissued shares of the company to the members as what? Fully paid bonus shares. Okay? Second, in writing of the preliminary expenses of the company. Third, in writing of the expenses of or the commission paid discount allowed on any shares or debentures of the company. ठीक है? In providing for the premium payable on the redemption of any redeemable preference shares or of any debentures of the company. And last is for the buyback, that is section 68, for the purchase of its own shares or other securities under section 68. So the auditor needs to verify whether the premium received on shares, if any, has been transferred to the securities premium account, and whether the application of any amount out of the said securities premium account is only for the purposes mentioned above. So students have started sending me the purposes for which these can be, the securities premium account can be applied. And since you all have already covered this in your company's law, so I am not taking this topic in detail. Okay? So with respect to the shares issued at the premium, सिर्फ दो बातें ध्यान में रखना है. क्या क्या? That जो premium amount है, that has been transferred to a separate account, and amount should have been used for what? Specific purposes. And what are those specific purposes? These are the 5 specific purposes for which the securities premium account can be utilized. Okay? Now our next topic. So I'll do one thing before starting with shares issued at a discount. We will take a break of 10 minutes here. And student, see, I've already mentioned here, you need to refer to what revision in BOS publication for this. If you have the printed copies, if you are already reading from the soft copies that are available on the ICAI module, then this change has already been done there. Okay? So we will take a break of 10 minutes here, and then we'll be starting with this shared issued at a discount wala topic. Okay? Meanwhile, please send in your replies whether you have understood or not. And see, like Shrishti and Nitin, they have scored good marks. I always tell you that if you follow these techniques, you'll actually pass with flying colors. And I can say for Shrishti, she has actually passed her auditing and insurance subject with flying colors. 70 marks are good. Okay? Chalo, okay. Send in your replies whether you have understood, and a break of 10 minutes here. Break. Okay, so students, I hope you all are back after the break. And in the break, I was going through your messages. So, Parth, I'm sure that you will be able to send the similar message as Shrishti has sent. I'm sure. Okay? So, my best wishes are with all of you. But yes, your hard work, your learning strategies, your learning the concepts is also very much important. Okay, so chalo, now let us start with what shares issued at a discount. And as I've told you that with respect to this topic, you all must be having the printed copies of the ICAI module for auditing and assurance subject paper number 6, Hana. So there, please do not do this topic from that there. You may refer to the soft copy of this chapter which is available on your BOS knowledge portal, or you may also refer to the revision in BOS publication which is given here. Okay? And soon you will be getting the RTPs where the question with respect to this topic has been included. So please refer to those. Okay? So, and Pooja, as you were saying that, ma'am, please upload this paper also, this revision in BOS publication. So I'll do that. I'll upload this in the assignment part. Okay? So shares issued at a discount. So again, I know that you all have done this in your company's law, but let us quickly see with respect to the provision. So shares issued at a discount, and quickly tell me the section number. Shares issued at a discount. Quickly tell me the section number. The section of the Companies Act. Section. So Pooja, you will also be able to send the same message. My best wishes are with all of you. Shares issued at a discount. Section 53 of the Companies Act. 2013. Okay. So when the company, when we are examining the share capital, first of all, we'll have to see as auditors as to whether there has been any movement in the share capital. And if yes, any fresh issue of share capital has been there. So we will have to see that it should not have been done at what? At a discount, because each issue of shares at a discount is void as per section 53 of the Companies Act. However, there are two exceptions, that is sweat equity shares dealt in section 54 of the Companies Act. So sweat equity shares, that is the shares which are issued to the officers, directors of the company, these can be issued at a discount, which we will be doing as the next topic. Okay? Further, let me just take you through the module. So it says that according to section 53, so you will write the auditor will have to check whether the provisions has been with provisions of section 53 of the Companies Act have been complied with by the company. So it says that the company shall not issue shares at a discount except in case of sweat equity shares given under section 54. Okay? Many of you have already answered that section 53 deals with issue of shares at a discount, and section 54 is an exception to it. Okay? So any shares issued by a company at a discounted price shall be void. Okay? Now this is the addition that has been done, that is notwithstanding 1 and 2 above. See, if a company may issue a shares at discount to its creditors, okay, when it has been done in accordance with the restructuring scheme. Okay, a debt restructuring scheme has been there, and if the creditors are being issued shares, so that may be issued at a discount. Okay, in accordance with any guidelines or directions or regulations specified by RBI under the RBI Act 1934 or the Banking Regulation Act 1949. So I'm repeating here again that please do not refer to this topic from the printed copy. ठीक है, refer to either the soft copy which is available here or the revision in the BOS publication. ठीक है, and where a company fails to comply with the provisions of this section, that is it issues at a discount, then the company and every officer who is in default, company and every officer who is in default, it shall be liable to pay the penalty which will be what? Equal to lesser of amount raised through issue of shares or rupees 5 lakhs, like lower of these two things, and the company will be required to refund all the monies that it has obtained with interest at the rate of 12% per annum from the date of issue of such shares to the person to whom such shares have been issued. ठीक है, so if I ask you that what audit procedures the auditor have to perform, सबसे पहले तो क्या देखेगा? He'll see whether there is a movement in the share capital, issue हुआ है. Second में he'll see whether shares discount पे issue हुए हैं, कैसे पता चलेगा? Minutes of the meeting से देख के, ठीक है. And thirdly, he'll see that अगर sweat equity है या creditors को दिया गया है by way of debt restructuring, तो कोई problem नहीं है because that is allowed, but still he'll be checking all those transactions in detail. ठीक है. So with this we have done shares issued at a discount. Now issue of sweat equity shares, section 54 of the Companies Act, and quickly tell me, I hope you all are already aware as to what is meant by sweat equity shares. See, as the name suggests, sweat. Okay? So for the sweat, for the hard work of the officers and the directors, they are being given shares at a discount. Okay? So it means, see, sweat, try to understand from the name itself. Equity shares means equity shares issued by the company to employees or directors at a discount or for consideration other than cash, for providing know-how, making available right in the nature of IPRs or value addition by whatever name called. Okay? And as per section 54, sweat equity shares can be issued only if they belong to a class of shares which have already been issued, and if certain conditions specified under section 54 have been complied. Okay? So let me just write so that you can see as to how to summarize this. Okay? So what we are discussing issue of sweat equity shares. See what is the technique which Shrishti was maybe just referring to. Try to summarize section 54, Hana. The definition, you all are aware that what these are the shares, equity shares which are being issued to the employees or directors for discount or for consideration other than cash, for providing know-how or for the providing IPRs or the value additions by whatever name called. Okay? So auditor has to verify that this is a class of shares which has already been issued. Okay? Then certain conditions should have been satisfied when the company is issuing shares at as sweat equity share. First of all, it should be passed by what? By passing a special resolution, and that resolution should specify the number of shares issued, the employees or directors to whom such shares have been issued, the current market price. Okay? Then if the shares are, see, the C point has been omitted. The next point is, when the shares are listed on the stock exchange, then the SEBI regulation should be complied with. And if these are not listed, then as per the prescribed rules, the auditor will check whether compliance has been done or not. And the rights, the limitations, the restrictions of the sweat equity shareholders will stand pari passu. They will rank pari passu with what? With other equity shareholders. That is, their rights, their restrictions will be equal to the other equity shareholders. Clear? So this is the way how you need to summarize. Is your one page is summarized into what? 5-6 lines. And this will definitely help you when you are, revising the chapter. before your exams or whenever you are revising the chapter, see, for making these summaries now, first so you will have to read the module in entirety. एक line padho, and then on the left side ample space is given in your module. You can in brief just make the summaries like in this way. ठीक है? So quickly tell me whether this is clear or not. Issue of sweat equity shares. Is there any doubt? I need answers from you all. ठीक है? उसके बाद we are starting with what? Reduction of capital. See, this is a very important chapter and very easy also. Why? It may appear to you that it is a very lengthy chapter. ठीक है, lengthy है, but this is very scoring. Why? Because you already have the knowledge of your Companies Act. You have already studied in Companies Law. You have the knowledge in your what? Of your accounting standards. When we are checking the various items, we need to check whether the management has complied with the provisions of Companies Act, whether the management has appropriately, they have applied what? The provisions of accounting standards. Okay? So yes, you need to check as to how to write the answer. For that, you need to go through the module. Okay? Okay, so Parth has already started. He has given me the section with respect to the reduction of share capital, which is section 66 of the Companies Act. Okay, so now we are discussing about what? Reduction of share capital. So students, what is reduction of share capital? So this is basically the process of reducing the company's shareholders' equity, either through cancellation or the share repurchase. Okay. Now, the company may reduce its issued, subscribed or paid up capital. Okay. So, when reduction in capital takes place? See, it takes place when capital is not represented by assets. It's a loss-making company. Okay. Or when the return of capital is excess of bonds. So you have surplus funds. Okay. However, this reduction of capital is not permitted. It is not permitted if there is any arrears with respect to the repayment or interest payment of any what? Public deposit. Okay. I'm sure you all have already done all these things in your company law. Further, how the company reduces the capital is by reduction in what? The unpaid capital, which is not being paid. Hana? So by reduction in unpaid capital, by cancellation of lost capital in case it is a loss-making company, and by paying off excess paid up capital. The excess paid up capital is returned to the shareholders. Okay? Okay? So with respect to reduction of capital, now who is asking? Pooja is saying, ma'am, who is saying? Parth is saying as to ma'am how the question can be framed. See, you can always be asked that XYZ Limited is the client, you are the auditor of this company, and while perusing the financial statement, you find that there has been reduction of capital. How will you verify all these transactions? How will you conduct the audit of such reduction of capital? Okay? So you will have to mention all these things. Okay? So with respect to reduction of capital, now quickly let us try as to how to make the summary. So I've told you in brief as to when the reduction in capital will take place, how the reduction in capital can take place, and what exactly is reduction of capital. So first of all, see how to make the summaries. Special resolution should have been passed for what? Your reduction of capital. So whether the company has passed special resolution, the company should be authorized by the article of association. It should be authorized by the article of association with respect to reduction of capital. Otherwise, the same cannot be done. Okay? Then we have seen that there should be no default with respect to repayment of deposits or interest on public deposit. If there are such default, then it's mentioned that reduction of capital cannot be affected. Affected is, that is, it cannot take place. Don't get confused. It is affected, not affected. So affected is what? It cannot take place. Okay? And you all must be aware that the order of tribunal, the National Company Law Tribunal, is required for reduction of capital. So a copy of that order plus a copy of the minutes of the meeting, these are to be filed with the ROC. When ROC obtains all these things, ROC gives you a certificate. So check the registrar's certificate with respect to registration of reduction of capital. Okay? So just a minute, certificate. So whenever you get any question, just try to think as to what are the provisions of the Companies Act and write that the auditor needs to verify whether a special resolution has been passed. He needs to inspect the article of association in order to see whether the same is authorized by article of association. Then there should not have been any default by the company with respect to repayment of deposits or interest on public deposits. The auditor will also verify that the order of National Company Law Tribunal and the copy of the minutes of the meeting has been filed with the ROC. The auditor will then check the registrar certificate, and since different accounting entries will be passed with respect to reduction of capital, we as auditor, we are going to check all that and whether the disclosure requirement as per part 1 to schedule 3 of the Companies Act, whether the same has been done or not. If revaluation of assets is also done, the auditor will see whether revaluation of assets is properly done or not. Okay? And now since the capital has been reduced, see, so there will be change in what? Register of members. Okay? And with respect to this, try to understand that either the old certificates that has been issued to the members, these will be what? Altered, or these will be what? Cancelled and new will be issued. So auditor will check whether these have been done or not. Auditor will see whether terms and conditions of NCLT has been complied with or not. Okay? And there need to be a subsequent amendment in what? Memorandum of association. So whether that has been done or not. Auditor will also see that as per the order of NCLT, whether the term and reduced has been added or not. And students, you all must be aware that if the company has to go for reduction of capital, one way can be buyback of shares. So whether the buyback of shares is as per section 68 of the Companies Act or not. Okay? So part you were asking me as to ma'am how the question can be framed. So question can always be asked that with respect to reduction of capital by XYZ Limited, what audit procedures the auditor will have to perform. So these are the procedures. And student, this is one of the learning, one of the techniques as to how you can, learn the points. Why? Because you have already understood each and every concept till section number 148 in your Companies Act. You are all aware about all these provisions. But yes, you need to, you need to prepare such summaries in order to give you a bird's eye view when you are revising, so that no point is, what missed. Okay? So with this, we have done reduction of capital. Quickly tell me if you have any doubt in this. Quickly tell me. I need your replies. Send in your replies. Quickly send in your replies whether you have understood reduction of capital or not. So that I can start with the next topic, which is what? The presentation and disclosure of share capital. So let me just have a look at your queries. Meanwhile, please tell me whether so far we have discussed is clear or not. Let me just have a look at your queries. There was some technical problem. Just a minute. Okay. So Jamil is asking, ma'am, are we required to know various points with respect to P&L items also? Yes. And we'll be discussing the various assertions of P&L item in the in this chapter itself. You will see that initially the balance sheet items have been discussed and then the P&L items. Okay? And who is saying I don't know how to pronounce the name, but there is a query with respect to pari passu clause. So it basically says has equal rights as the rights of what equity shareholders. Pari passu is having equal standing as the equity shareholders. I hope your doubt is clear. So Pooja is saying that she is finding this summary helpful. That is good, Pooja. ठीक है. Yes, your preparation for this subject, auditing and assurance, if you make these summaries, Parth is saying that this is going to help him for the law subject also, which is absolutely correct. This is going to help you in your company's law also. Okay? So now we are discussing what the reduction of capital we have seen. And then now the next point is what disclosure for equity. So disclosure requirement, okay? So whenever the disclosure requirement comes, now write these lines. Ensure whether the following disclosure requirements of Schedule 3 Part 1 to the Companies Act 2013 have been complied with. Okay? So this is the disclosure requirement which has been given in Schedule 3 Part 1 to the Companies Act, and the companies are required to follow this disclosure requirement. Okay? So share capital, how it will be disclosed, we'll be doing this directly from the module. So see, for each class of share capital, it includes what preference shares also, what all needs to be mentioned. The company is going to show the company is going to disclose the number and amount of shares authorized. Okay. This is about what authorization. Then the number of shares issued, subscribed and fully paid, subscribed but not fully paid, right? Then the par value per share, easy. Okay. Then D point says the reconciliation between the shares outstanding at the beginning of the year and at the end of the year. So if there has been any movement, so a reconciliation of that. Okay. With respect to each class of share, clear reconciliation of shares at the beginning, outstanding at the beginning and at the end. Okay. Then with respect to each class of share, the company is going to mention the rights, the preferences, the restrictions. Okay. Like there are participating preference shares, non-participating. Hana? So whatever rights, preferences, restrictions are there with respect to each class of shares, rights with respect to what distribution or dividend. So that will also be mentioned. Okay. Clear. Now with respect to F point, try to understand that whatever shares are held in, let's say my client is what XYZ Limited. So whatever shares in respect to each class is held by the holding of XYZ Limited, that will be mentioned. The ultimate holding of XYZ Limited, that will be mentioned. Okay? Whatever shares in XYZ Limited are held by any associate or subsidiary of holding, that will be mentioned. or any shares held by associate or subsidiary of ultimate holding, that will also be mentioned. Okay? So let me just try to give you an example. Suppose ABC Limited holds MNO Limited, and MNO in turns hold XYZ, and XYZ is my client. Okay? So shares in XYZ Limited held by what? MNO Limited. Shares in XYZ Limited held by ABC Limited. Shares in XYZ Limited held by associate or subsidiary of MNO Limited, and shares in XYZ Limited held by associate subsidiary of ABC Limited. So all these will be mentioned. Okay? Now, with respect to your next point number G, shares in the company held by each shareholder holding more than 5% shares, specifying the number of shares. If any shareholder in the company is holding shares which are more than 5% of the total shares, then the number of such shares shall be mentioned. Okay? Any shares which are reserved for issue under options, let's say the shares are to be issued under employee stock option after, let's say, a period of 3 years. So if any shares have been reserved for that purpose, so those shares will also come here. Okay? Then suppose the balance sheet is ending on what? 31st March 2021. ठीक है, financial year 2021 का you are conducting the audit. So for the 5 years immediately preceding this date, if any shares इस डेट से 5 साल पहले अगर कोई शेयर्स हैव बीन इश्यूड फॉर कंसिडरेशन अदर देन कैश, तो उसको मेंशन करना है, उसका एग्रीगेट नंबर ऑफ शेयर्स एंड क्लास ऑफ शेयर्स. इफ एनी शेयर्स हैव बीन allotted as fully paid by way of what? बोनस शेयर्स, तो वो मेंशन करना है. और अगर कोई शेयर्स बायबैक हुए हैं तो वो मेंशन करना है ड्यूरिंग द लास्ट 5 years इमीडिएटली प्रीसीडिंग द डेट ऑफ द बैलेंस शीट. ठीक है, 31st मार्च से इमीडिएटली पहले अगर 5 years में ऐसा कुछ हुआ है where the shares have been issued for consideration other than cash, या by way of what? bonus shares, or by way of what? your buyback of shares, then this has to be mentioned. ठीक है, clear? Now, if any of the securities is convertible into equity or preference shares, then that has to be also given. ठीक है? If any calls are unpaid, ठीक है, from the directors or officers, then that needs to be disclosed in the financial statement. ठीक है? And students, very important with respect to the shareholding pattern of the promoters. The company need to mention the following with respect to the shareholding pattern of the promoters as to the shares held by promoters at the end of the year as on 31st March 2021. We are conducting the audit of what? Financial year 2021. Okay? So as on the date of the end of the year, what is the promoter name, number of shares that he is holding, and percentage shares. And if there has been any change in the percentage during the year, that will also be mentioned. Very, very important. This has been recently added. So promoter here means the promoter definition as given in Companies Act 2013. For each class of shares, these details are to be given, and from where this percentage needs to be calculated. कहाँ से percentage change देखना है. So if the promoter is holding the shares last year also, so at the beginning of the year, कि इस साल के starting में कितना शेयर था और उससे कितना परसेंटेज इंक्रीज हुआ टिल द एंड. ठीक है, एंड लेट्स से इफ दिस इज द फर्स्ट टाइम फॉर विच the share has been issued during this year only, then from the date of the issue of such shares, this will have to be disclosed. Okay? So with respect to the disclosure requirement that has been given for share capital in Schedule 3 Part 1 to the Companies Act, these are the requirements. And some of you are saying, ma'am, how will we can get a question? You can always get a question. Mark this as very important, that with respect to the promoter shareholding pattern, what all disclosure requirements the auditor needs to see. So you will have to write this as the answer. Okay? So obviously students, it will not come that write all the assertions with respect to share capital. ठीक है, you cannot get a question for answer going to 7 or 8 pages, नहीं है ना. But yes, from these topics, from the share capital topic, you may get small chunks as a 3 or 4 mark question. Like this question can always be asked for 3 marks. That with respect to shareholding pattern, what is the disclosure requirements as per companies, the Schedule 3 to the Companies Act, what all requirements the auditor has to see. So you'll see that the auditor will verify that it is in accordance with Schedule 3 Part 1 to the Companies Act, and it should be in this way. ठीक है? So clear? So Jameel, I cannot understand what you exactly want to ask. Please send in your query again. So how you will be writing the answer? So see students, you need not write कि Companies Act ये कहता है, फिर auditor को ये check करना है. बार-बार same चीजें थोड़ी ना लिखोगे. For example, if there is a question on reduction of capital, so you will be writing, the auditor will verify whether the provisions of section 66 of the Companies Act have been complied by the organization. ठीक है? He'll verify point number 1, that whether special resolution has been passed or not. Second, whether article of association authorizes or not. ठीक है? So उसी में provision के साथ ही you will mention कि वही सब verify या check करना है. Try to use different words. Verify करना है, check करना है, ensure whether. Huh? Try to use all this language. So I hope this is clear. Clear? So with this, we have finished our share capital part. So I'll just recapitulate this in next 5 minutes, and then we'll be starting with reserves and surplus. Okay. So when we started with share capital, so we saw that first of all, in order to verify the existence, completeness and valuation. देखो अगर existence, completeness, valuation पे आता है ना, तो you will write only this. फिर उसमें share premium, share discount ये सब थोड़ी ना लिखोगे. अगर share cap premium के लिए आता है तो you will write what section 52 का. Discount के लिए आता है तो section 53 का. Set equity के लिए आता है तो section 54 and reduction आता है तो section 66. ठीक है? So in small chunks you will get the questions. ठीक है? So with respect to existence, completeness, first of all, auditor will check the audited financial statement of the last year and इस साल का जो भी period end पे share capital आ रहा है, ठीक है? Then if there is no change, then written confirmation from company secretary, and if there is a change हुआ है तो क्या देखना है कि whether it is within the limits of authorized capital, उसके लिए memorandum of association को check करना है, ठीक है? फिर resolution जो भी directors के shareholders के हैं उनको check करना है, and if there has been a fresh issue, then companies आके provisions comply हुए हैं नहीं with respect to minimum subscription, minimum application money, maintenance separate bank account, payment of underwriting commission. ठीक है? He'll also ensure that shares are not issued at a discount, section 53, and if for consideration other than cash, that is to promoters, underwriters, तो वो भी उसको detail में check करना है. Auditor will see whether the company has complied with SEBI regulations and guidelines, and he will verify, he'll obtain and verify the forms which are filled with which are to be filed with MCA. SH4 for SH7 for increase in authorized capital, PS3 for increase in your paid up capital, reserve the FCGPR form to be filed with RBI with respect to foreign direct investment from a non-resident. ठीक है? And we all know that the fees and stamp duty, whether the same has been paid to the MCA. ठीक है? इतना आएगा with respect to share capital, existence, completeness and valuation assertion. Premium के लिए दो बातें मैंने बोली थी, क्या-क्या? That amount should have been transferred to a separate account, premium amount, and it should have been used for what specific purposes. ठीक है? So what are those specific purposes? Now you all know that fully paid up bonus shares के लिए, writing of preliminary expenses के लिए, writing of expenses या commission या discount on issue of shares के लिए, premium payable के on redemption के लिए use हो सकता है, and buyback के लिए use हो सकता है. So यही दो बातें auditor को verify करनी है. Issue at a discount में again I'm repeating, refer to the revision in BOS publication or refer to the soft copy of this chapter which is available on your ICAI website. Do not refer to the provisions that are given in your printed modules. ठीक है? and RTP maybe you will get in the questions on this section. So section 53 says a company cannot issue except for sweat equity shares, cannot issue at a discount. And if it issues, it will be void. However, if creditors are given shares at a discount out of any debt restructuring scheme as per in compliance with directives of RBI, so that can be done. So if the company contravenes the provisions of company and every officer in default, he shall be liable to a penalty which may be equal to the amount raised or rupees 5 lakh, whichever is less, and the company is required to pay refund all the monies along with the interest of 12% to all the persons to whom such shares have been issued from the date of such issue. So ऑडिटर को क्या क्या चेक करना है, मूवमेंट चेक करेगा, मिनट्स चेक करेगा, उससे पता चल जाएगा कि डिस्काउंट पे तो नहीं है, लेकिन क्रेडिटर्स को डेट रिस्ट्रक्शन में दिया तो देन इट्स फाइन. ठीक है. स्वेट इक्विटी शेयर्स सेक्शन 54 बताता है रिगार्डिंग द स्वेट इक्विटी शेयर्स. स्वेट इक्विटी शेयर्स होते क्या है, यू ऑल नाउ वेरी वेल नो, एंड इट शुड बी अ क्लास ऑफ शेयर्स व्हिच हैज ऑलरेडी बीन इशूड एंड सर्टेन कंडीशंस ऑफ सेक्शन 54 आर टू बी कंप्लाइड, दैट इज स्पेशल रेजोल्यूशन होना चाहिए. दिस रेजोल्यूशन शुड स्पेसिफाई करंट मार्केट प्राइस क्या है, किसको दिया गया है, किस प्राइस पे दिया गया है. देन इट सेज दैट अगर सेबी लिस्ट रिकॉग्नाइज्ड स्टॉक एक्सचेंज पे है तो सेबी की रेगुलेशंस फॉलो करने हैं, अदरवाइज जो भी प्रेस्क्राइब्ड रूल्स है वो फॉलो करना है. एंड दे शैल रैंक पैरी पैसू विद अदर इक्विटी शेयर होल्डर्स, मतलब इनका राइट्स लिमिटेशंस रिस्ट्रिक्शंस जो है इक्वल स्टैंडिंग होगा किसका, इक्विटी शेयर होल्डर का. डिडक्शन के लिए सेक्शन 66 का प्रोविजंस. सो देखो कैसे लिखना है. अगर क्वेश्चन आता है पार्ट, दिस वाज योर क्वेरी, फॉर वेरीफाइंग डिडक्शन ऑफ कैपिटल द ऑडिटर नीड्स टू एग्जामिन वेदर द कंपनी हैज फॉलोड द स्पेसिफिक रिक्वायरमेंट्स एज पर सेक्शन 66. ठीक है. तो ही शैल अंडरटेक फॉलोइंग प्रोसीजर्स. तो अब ऐसे तो नहीं लिखा ना कि पहले पूरा सेक्शन 66 बता दिया फिर दोबारा से बताया कि ऑडिटर अब यही सब चेक करेगा, नहीं है ना. सो यू विल मेंशन कि 66 सेक्शन अप्लाई होता है और उसी को वेरीफाई करना है कि वो सब हुआ है या नहीं. सो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल क्या है, स्पेशल रेजोल्यूशन पास होना चाहिए. आर्टिकल ऑफ, सो यू कैन यू नो इफ यू वांट टू मेक द समरी ना, यहीं पे लिख सकते हो कि स्पेशल रेजोल्यूशन पास हुआ है या नहीं, है ना. आर्टिकल ऑफ एसोसिएशन से ऑथराइज है या नहीं. डिफॉल्ट नहीं होना चाहिए किसमें, डिपॉजिट्स में या इंटरेस्ट में. दिस इज द वे एज टू हाउ टू मेक समरी, है ना. नो वन शुड बी लेफ्ट, है ना. ऑर्डर ऑफ ट्रिब्यूनल जो है उसका और मिनट्स का जो कॉपीज है दैट शुड बी फाइल्ड विद रजिस्ट्रार. रजिस्ट्रार का सर्टिफिकेट को चेक करना है. अकाउंटिंग एंट्रीज को वाउच करोगे, है ना. स्केड्यूल 3 पार्ट 1 के हिसाब से सारा डिस्क्लोजर है या नहीं वो देखोगे. रिवैल्यूएशन ऑफ एसेट्स प्रॉपर्ली आया है या नहीं. एंड व्हाट इज दिस, हाँ ये इट सेज अबाउट व्हाट रजिस्टर ऑफ मेंबर्स में चेंजेस होना चाहिए. ओल्ड सर्टिफिकेट्स को या तो ऑल्टर करो या न्यू को इश्यू करके ओल्ड को कैंसिल करो. वर्ड एंड रिड्यूस्ड आ जाना चाहिए. एंड आपका जो भी कंडीशंस ऑफ ट्रिब्यूनल है दैट हैज बीन कंप्लाइड एंड मेमोरेंडम ऑफ एसोसिएशन को सूटेबली अमेंड किया है. इफ द कंपनी हैज मेड एनी बायबैक ऑफ शेयर्स तो आपको सेक्शन 68 का प्रोविजन देखना है. ठीक है. नाउ विद रिस्पेक्ट टू द डिस्क्लोजर हमें क्या देखना है, दैट विद रिस्पेक्ट टू ईच क्लास ऑफ शेयर्स. ठीक है. प्रेफरेंस शेयर्स का भी तो क्या क्या देखना है कि ऑथराइज कितना है, इशूड, सब्सक्राइब्ड एंड फुल्ली पेड, सब्सक्राइब्ड एंड नॉट फुल्ली पेड कितना है, पार वैल्यू कितना है. ठीक है. बिगिनिंग और एंड में कितना है उसका रिकंसिलिएशन. ठीक है. राइट्स, प्रेफरेंसेस, रिस्ट्रिक्शन सभी क्लासेस के लिए कितना है. देन ट्राई टू लर्न दिस. होल्डिंग कितना होल्ड करता है, अल्टीमेट होल्डिंग कितना होल्ड करता है, एसोसिएट सब्सिडियरी ऑफ होल्डिंग कितना होल्ड करता है, एंड एसोसिएट सब्सिडियरी ऑफ अल्टीमेट होल्डिंग कितना होल्ड करता है. कोई भी होल्डर इफ इट इज होल्डिंग मोर देन 5% तो कितना शेयर्स है, नंबर ऑफ शेयर्स बताना है. और शेयर्स अगर रिजर्व फॉर एनी ऑप्शन है तो वो कितना है. इस डेट से 5 साल पहले अगर इसमें से कुछ हुआ है कि contracts without payment being received in cash, that is shares issued by way of what, fully paid by way of bonus shares या buyback हुआ है तो वो mention करना है. Any security convertible into equity preference shares वो बताना है. Calls unpaid है directors या officers के वो बताने हैं. Shareholders promoter, shareholding of promoters उसका क्या pattern है, very 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 important. ठीक है. So ये बताना है. So with this we have done our share capital वाला topic. Certain notes are left with respect to share capital which I'll be doing in the next to next session. ठीक है. So अभी के लिए I'm leaving this notes वाला section and now we'll be starting with reserves and surplus. So I need your replies whether whatever we have done so far is clear or not. ठीक है. And students start studying. ठीक है. You will also pass with flying colors, I'm sure. ठीक है, बट हाँ उसके लिए हार्ड वर्क इज डेफिनेटली रिक्वायर्ड. Send in your replies whether you have understood share capital wala part. And since I was getting a number of queries with respect to as to ma'am how we'll be getting the questions and how to write the answers, tell me whether it is clear or not. See Jameel, you need to understand in this chapter as to how the audit of various items which has been mentioned in chapter number 9, which has been given in your module, how you will be conducting the audit of all those items. Okay. Further, I told you that you may get any item of the financial statement which we have not discussed. But now, since after completing this chapter, you must have done a number of topics, है ना? हमने सारे topics cover कर लिए होंगे. Further, अब आपको general assertions भी पता है कि P&L के साथ कौन से assertion होते हैं, balance sheet items के साथ कौन से assertion होते हैं, तो आप answer कर पाओगे, ठीक है? So this is what I wanted to say, ठीक है? So Vikas, Pooja, Sandeep, Menon, Hina, Pooja, Brinda, they are saying, ma'am, everything is clear. And Inderpal, relating to your query now, okay, I'll do one thing with respect to the remaining chapters now. I'll do one thing. I'll share an email ID with you. You can send in your replies. See if any of your replies is unanswered now, queries is unanswered now. You can just send in your query on that. Okay, let me just have a look if I have that email ID with me. So Inderpal, you can send in whatever you have mentioned in your query on this ID, and the ID is auditing dash dash enter @ICAI.in. So it is what? Auditing dash enter. It is dash, not underscore. Enter @ICAI.in. So Inderpal, is it clear with respect to your query? With respect to the remaining chapters, is it clear to you? Inderpal, please send in your reply. So auditing dash enter @ICAI.in. You can send in your queries there. Okay? Inderpal, quickly send in your reply whether your query is resolved or not. So our next topic now is what? Our next topic is reserves and surplus. Now my question to you, quickly tell me, what is a reserve? What are the various types of reserve? Inderpal, tell me whether your query is resolved, and send me, students, the retained profits part is same. What else? So see, reserves are the amounts which are appropriated out of profits, and these are not meant for meeting any liability or any commitment. Okay, these are basically available for free distribution. Okay, and if I talk about the various types of reserves, then there are revenue reserves and capital reserves. Okay. So revenue reserves are the reserves that are available for distribution to shareholders and can be used for various purposes, like, let me just take you through the module. So reserves are what? These are the amounts appropriated out of profits but are not intended to meet any liability or commitment. ठीक है, and these are vital source of financing by internal means. So revenue reserves are reserves that are profits that are available for distribution to shareholders or below purposes such as what? To supplement divisible profits in lean years. What is lean years? The years that are not so good. Not so good in terms of profit. So to supplement divisible profits in lean years, to finance an extension of business, to augment working capital of the business, to generally strengthen the company's financial position. However, capital reserves are not free for distribution. These can be utilized only for limited purposes, like your securities premium reserve. You have seen that it can be used only for few purposes. Your capital redemption reserve, your securities premium, you have seen that for the purposes for which these can be used. So with respect to your query as to ma'am, how can we get the questions, you can always, this is a very good question so far as the MCQs are concerned. For which of the following purposes the revenue reserves can be used or cannot be used, or capital reserves can be used? So you may get the query in this way, the reply, the MCQ on this topic. Okay? So this is all about revenue reserves, capital reserves. You can have a look. You have already done. Now again, when you get the question with respect to that the auditor will and evaluation of reserves. Friends, if any of your query is overlooked by me, you can send in your query on this ID. Okay? So with respect to reserves and surplus, first point is the same, that compare the opening balance with the previous year balance, whether these have been correctly brought forward or not. ठीक है, पहले तो compare कर लेंगे. Then we compare it with the closing balance also, and if there has any addition or utilization of the reserve in the current period, तो उसके लिए क्या check करना है? उसके लिए let's say P&L का balance is also one of the reserves ना, ठीक है? So let's take the example of P&L. उसके लिए क्या करना पड़ेगा? You will trace the movement. कहाँ पे? In statement of changes in equity. Because अगर कोई dividend declare हुआ होगा तो statement of changes in equity में आया होगा ना वो, है ना? Consider the effect of AS4 with respect to your dividend. Quickly tell me, have you done AS4? AS4. So basically it says that if any dividend has been declared after the balance sheet date, if any dividend has been proposed after the balance sheet date, it will not be considered as a liability as on the balance sheet. However, a disclosure with respect to the dividend proposed will come in the financial statement AS4, that is contingencies and events occurring after the balance sheet date. So auditor needs to consider that, and whenever there has been any dividend declaration, so the board's resolution for the recommendation, the resolution of the board of directors for the recommendation and the resolution of the shareholders for the declaration of such dividend needs to be seen. Okay? Further, we have already seen, this is what example of P&L. If I take example of securities premium, now you all know that section 52, that the amount should have been transferred to a particular account and it should be used for the specific purposes. Auditor will check that. ठीक है? So reserves and surplus का देखो इतना simple है. क्या है? That first of all auditor will have to compare, he'll verify the opening balances of the reserves and surplus with the balances of reserves and surplus appearing in the previous year audited financial statement. If he finds that there has been any addition or utilization of the reserves and surplus, he'll perform the following procedures. क्या क्या करना है? Okay, let me just take you through the module. ठीक है? So देखो, सबसे पहले हमने क्या पढ़ा? ओपनिंग बैलेंस चेक करना है, प्रीवियस ईयर से कंपेयर करना है. प्रीवियस ईयर के ऑडिटेड फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट होंगे. इस साल तो अभी ऑडिट कर रहे हो ना, है ना पूजा, यू वर करेक्ट, ठीक है। एडिशन यूटिलाइजेशन के लिए क्या करना है, एग्जाम्पल अगर पीएनएल का है तो क्या करना है, ट्रेस द मूवमेंट इन द पीएनएल अकाउंट में प्लस स्टेटमेंट ऑफ चेंजेस टू इक्विटी। क्यों, बिकॉज यहाँ पे आपका सारा डिविडेंड वगैरह आ जाएगा। देन वट एवर रेजोल्यूशन ऑफ बोर्ड ऑफ डायरेक्टर्स इज बिन देयर, वो देखना है, एंड शेयर होल्डर्स का जो भी बोर्ड ऑफ रेजोल्यूशन है आपको वो चेक करना है, ठीक है। देन AS4 or IND AS10 के according, if the dividend has been proposed after the balance sheet date, so it will not be considered as the liability as on the balance sheet date. However, the company needs to disclose the amount so proposed. Second example is what, securities premium, और ये तो आप already आपको पता है कि section 52 का requirement देखना है. So as simple as that with respect to reserves, that with respect to the completeness, the एग्जिस्टेंस एंड वैल्यूएशन, अगर क्वेश्चन आता है कि ऑडिटर को क्या करना है तो यू नाउ नो कि ऑडिटर को ये सब चेक करना है, ठीक है। एंड स्टूडेंट्स डोंट राइट जनरल आंसर्स, ठीक है। जनरल आंसर्स ऐसा मत करना कि सभी में जनरल आंसर्स, हाँ सभी में ये चेक करना है तो ये लिख देंगे, नहीं। व्हाई, बिकॉज व्हेन यू आर व्हेन यू आर क्रैमिंग दोस जनरल आंसर्स ना, उसमें आपकी ज्यादा मेहनत लगेगी। इसमें तो यू हैव ऑलरेडी डन ऑल योर प्रोविजंस एज पर द कंपनीज एक्ट, यू आर वेल वर्स्ड विद AS4 और अदर अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड्स। तो बस एक बारी आपको यही तो देखना है ना कि उसको लिखना कैसे है, कि ऑडिटर नीड्स टू वेरीफाई, ऑडिटर नीड्स टू इंश्योर वेदर, ऑडिटर नीड्स टू वाउच द अकाउंटिंग एंट्रीज, एग्जामिन, यही तो देखना है ना। प्रोविजंस तो आपको ऑलरेडी लर्न है ना, तो प्लीज डोंट गो आफ्टर लर्निंग कॉमन पॉइंट्स, है ना, बिकॉज सी दिस इज अ प्रोफेशनल एग्जाम. A lot is expected from you people, ठीक है। The commanded language that sir was talking about, you need to write your answers in that language. Then only you will be able to pass with flying colors the way Shrishti has sent the replies, ठीक है। So please don't go after the general answers, ठीक है। यू मे गेट अ लिस्ट जहां पे जनरल लिखा होगा कि एसेट के लिए ये लिख देना, लायबिलिटी के लिए लिख देना, नहीं, बिकॉज यू आर ऑलरेडी अवेयर अबाउट ऑल द प्रोविजंस ऑफ द कंपनीज एक्ट, द अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड्स, उसको बस कंपाइल ही तो करना है ना, ठीक है। एंड फॉर ऑल दोज हु आर सीइंग वीडियो इज बफरिंग, प्लीज रिफ्रेश, ठीक है। नाउ विद रिस्पेक्ट टू द डिस्क्लोजर, सो सी what is the language, ensure whether the following disclosure requirements of schedule 3 part 1 to the Companies Act 2013 have been complied with, ठीक है। Invest your time in learning this language ना, this is definitely going to help you fetch good marks, है ना। So first of all, the reserves and surplus shall be classified as capital reserve, CRR, securities premium, the debenture redemption reserve, revaluation reserve, share option outstanding account, other reserves. कोई भी अदर रिजर्व है तो उसका नेचर एंड पर्पस आपको स्पेसिफाई करना है। सरप्लस इन द पीएनएल अकाउंट, जस्ट अ मिनट, ठीक है। कोई भी अगर सरप्लस है इन द पीएनएल अकाउंट, यू आर गोइंग टू शो दैट ऑल्सो, ठीक है। एंड एडिशंस एंड डिडक्शंस सिंस द लास्ट ईयर बैलेंस शीट, जो भी ऊपर हमने सारे बाइफर्केशन देखे हैं उन सबका क्या क्या एडिशंस एंड डिडक्शंस है और वो कैसे देना है, विल बी जस्ट डूइंग इट इन दिस ओनली। देन इफ एनी रिजर्व इज स्पेसिफिकली represented by earmarked investment, it will be termed as fund, like your sinking fund, your debenture redemption fund, है ना, your investment fluctuation reserve. So if that is there, earmarked is what, for a specific purpose, if it is there, so it will be termed as what, fund, ठीक है। Then it says your PNL debit balance, the negative balance of your PNL, it will come under the head reserves. And even if there is negative balance of surplus, it will also be shown under what, reserves and surplus itself, ठीक है। सिंपल, बहुत सिंपल है। और जो हमने यहाँ पे पढ़ा था कि एडिशन और डिडक्शन दिखाना है, तो अब वो कैसे दिखाना है, फॉर ईच कॉम्पोनेंट ऑफ रिजर्व एंड सरप्लस, जो ऊपर आए हैं उसके लिए क्या दिखाओगे, बैलेंस एट द बिगिनिंग, चेंजेस दैट हैज बीन मेड एंड इन अकाउंटिंग पॉलिसी ऑफ प्रायर पीरियड, टोटल प्रॉफिट कितना था, डिविडेंड क्या हुआ, ट्रांसफर टू रिटेन्ड अर्निंग क्या हुआ, एनी अदर चेंज अगर है, एंड बैलेंस एट द एंड ऑफ द रिपोर्टिंग पीरियड, एज सिंपल एज दैट, ठीक है। सो रिजर्व्स एंड सरप्लस, स्टूडेंट्स, इफ यू मेक द समरी ना, दिस इज जस्ट one maybe half page summary for the entire reserves and surplus, ठीक है। and the entire chapter ना, chapter number 9 can be very well summarized in these columns, बहुत सारा space दिया हुआ है इस chapter में, ठीक है, यहाँ पे समरी बनाओ, विद इन 5 minutes यू विल बी एबल टू कंप्लीट योर शेयर कैपिटल। अभी हमने रिवाइज किया था ना, सो डोंट गेट पैनिक कि 104 पेजेस का चैप्टर है, नहीं, इट इज वेरी स्कोरिंग, यू ऑल आर ऑलरेडी, देखो अगर आपने कंपनीज लॉ नहीं भी पढ़ा है तो पढ़ना तो पड़ेगा ही ना, अकाउंट्स में अभी नहीं किया है तो वो करना तो पड़ेगा ही ना पेपर नंबर 6 देने से पहले। तो अगर आप उसको पढ़ रहे हो तो उसी को तो कंपाइल करना है, और कुछ है ही नहीं, जस्ट समराइज इट ना, यहाँ पे पूरा स्पेस है, यू कैन जस्ट मेक योर समरीज हियर, बहुत क्विक समरीज, द वे आई हैव शोन with respect to your let me just open the word, see reserves and surplus का ऐसे ही तो समरी बनना है, कुछ ज्यादा है ही नहीं ना, summarize, ठीक है। So with respect to this chapter summary बनाओ, अगर if you are not comfortable with summary you may mark in the module itself, ठीक है। You may mark in the module itself, जैसे I have marked in red, take a highlighter, but I understand ना, to also share my notes, but you will get confused, ठीक है, because the short forms I use sometimes I also get confused ना, तो अपने notes खुद बनाओ, कॉपी मत करो, and it will take, जैसे अभी आपके क्लास फिनिश होता है ना, तो it will take hardly 30 minutes to make the notes and see your topic till page number 20 will be done today itself when you are reading in between the lines, ठीक है, और साथ साथ उसकी समरी बना रहे हो, लर्न तो ऑटोमेटिकली हो ही जाएगा ना, और रिवीजन के लिए भी यू हैव हैंडी नोट्स विद यू ना, ठीक है। एंड दिस चैप्टर प्लीज बिलीव मी इट इज वेरी इजी because you are well versed with all the provision of Companies Act with the accounting standards, और वो ही तो हमें चेक करना है ना, ठीक है। And further you will see that we'll be discussing about say bank statements, bank balances, है ना, trade receivable, trade payables, so उसमें external confirmation लगेगा, and which we have already done in SA 505 in chapter number 3, ठीक है। So please follow all these techniques, and this chapter is going to be very securing, like you will definitely secure good marks if you attempt the questions of this chapter. Please do not leave this chapter thinking that it is a lengthy chapter, lengthy है but scoring है and बहुत easy है, बिकॉज आपने या तो पढ़ लिए हैं प्रोविजंस कंपनीज एक्ट के और अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड्स वगैरह, या आपको पढ़ने हैं, यू हैव नो अदर ऑप्शन। तो जब आता ही है सब कुछ तो उसको बस कंपाइल ही तो करना है, थोड़ा सा लैंग्वेज ही तो यूज करना है कि वेरीफाई दिस, वाउच दिस, एग्जामिन दिस, इंश्योर वेदर डिस्क्लोजर एज पर शेड्यूल 3 पार्ट 1 टू द कंपनीज एक्ट, कुछ ज्यादा नहीं है, ठीक है। एंड आई एम श्योर यू विल बी एबल टू डू एंड यू ऑल विल पास विद द फ्लाइंग कलर्स, ठीक है। सो आवर नेक्स्ट टॉपिक for today is what? Borrowings, ठीक है। So what are borrowings? I'll not do borrowings in detail because इतना टाइम नहीं है, ठीक है। So but yes, I'll start with this topic. What are borrowings? So students are saying, ma'am, these summaries are appearing to be very helpful. Pooja is saying. Then Parth is saying he'll surely follow all these techniques. Yes, good. That is very good. ठीक है। So borrowing क्या होता है, कौन से साइड पे आता है, एसेट लायबिलिटी में लायबिलिटी। So borrowings are what financial, the liabilities are what your financial obligations other than owner's fund. Equity की थोड़ी ना बात कर रहे हैं हम। So financial obligations other than owner funds, और इसमें क्या क्या आ जाएगा, borrowings, trade payables और other current liabilities और provisions, है ना। अब borrowings क्या होते हैं specifically? So borrowings are the monies made available using external sources like bank loans, debentures, public fixed deposits, ठीक है। So अब हमारा next topic क्या है कि how to verify the various assertions with respect to bank loans, debentures या public fixed deposits. So इसमें से कुछ भी आता है तो उसका existence कैसे चेक करना है ना, उसका completeness कैसे चेक करना है, and उसका valuation कैसे चेक करना है, ठीक है। देखो शेयर कैपिटल में, रिजर्व्स एंड सरप्लस में यू वर गिवन ऑल दीज 3 थिंग्स वर गिवन टुगेदर, एक साथ दिया हुआ था ना कि कंप्लीटनेस, एग्जिस्टेंस, वैल्यूएशन के लिए क्या करना है। नाउ हियर एवरीथिंग हैज बीन गिवन सेपरेटली, ठीक है, क्योंकि वहां पे कॉमन ऑडिट प्रोसीजर्स वर एबल टू detect whether potential misstatement are there with respect to completeness, valuation, existence. But यहाँ पे you need to perform different audit procedures if you need to see the existence of borrowings, if you need to see the valuation, the completeness, or the presentation and disclosure. ठीक है? C part essay will be used here when as such no new essay will be done in this chapter. That is why sir said that this is a non-essay based chapter. But yes, your knowledge that you have already gained from chapter number 3, which is totally essay based chapter, वो तो use होएगा ना यहाँ पे. सी संदीप, डिस्क्लोजर मींस अगर देखो शेयर कैपिटल कहां पर डिस्क्लोज करोगे, बैलेंस शीट में ही आएगा ना, तो वहां पर डिस्क्लोजर आएगा. ठीक है. कंटिंजेंट लायबिलिटी कहां आता है, नोट्स टू अकाउंट्स में आएगा ना, तो वहां पर डिस्क्लोजर आएगा. ठीक है. सो डिस्क्लोजर जहां पर भी रिक्वायर्ड है वहीं पे आएगा ना. ठीक है. चलो, सो विद रिस्पेक्ट टू, अभी ना आई विल नॉट डू दिस बोरिंग इन डिटेल, बस tell me in brief, if I ask you to verify the borrowings of the client, what all documents come to your mind कि मैं ये check करूंगा या करूँ. ठीक है. See, try to answer these queries. Why? Because in the exam, if you get any of the items which you haven't done as such, so if you have already done this exercise with me कि खुद से सोचना है कि अगर borrowings है तो क्या चेक करना है, so this is going to help you to answer correctly any financial statement item. ठीक है. So tell me, borrowings के साथ अगर if I ask you कि auditor को, you as an auditor you need to verify the borrowings of XYZ Limited, तो सबसे पहले क्या चेक करूँ? Quickly, I need replies. Only next 5 minutes, then we will end this session for today. पर अभी for the 5 minutes, please, I need your concentration. क्या क्या check करोगे? If you are supposed to, if you are required to check the borrowings of XYZ Limited, क्या check करोगे? बताओ. बैंक लोन है ना? तो उसके लिए क्या check करोगे? Send in your replies. So Parth has said loan agreement, which is absolutely correct. Mortgage deed, registration of charges, which is correct. Long-term borrowing, loans from banks, board meeting for approval. ठीक है. ऐसे थोड़ी ना कोई भी लोन ले लेगा कंपनी, board approval तो चाहिए होगा ना. Then opening balances, Inderpal is saying correct. Borrowing agreements, Harsh Goel is saying, which is absolutely correct. Inderpal is saying bank statement, which is also correct. इंटरेस्ट पेड कहाँ पे आएगा? वैल्यूएशन में, है ना, कि वैल्यूएशन चेक करना है तो उसका इंटरेस्ट चेक कर लो. ठीक है. आई नीड मोर रिप्लाईज. ठीक है. सो आई कैन से कि अग्रीमेंट्स चेक करेंगे, जो भी लोन अग्रीमेंट्स है. डिबेंचर के केस में क्या होता है? डिबेंचर ट्रस्ट डीड. ऑडिटर विल चेक व्हाट डिबेंचर ट्रस्ट डीड देयर, टर्म्स एंड कंडीशंस. ठीक है. फिर पूजा इज सेइंग एक्सटर्नल कंफर्मेशन करेक्ट. सो बैंक ये इफ यू हैव टेकन द लोन फ्रॉम अ बैंक और द फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशन, इनसे कंफर्मेशन भी तो ले सकते हैं ना कि टेल अस व्हाट इज द इंटरेस्ट रेट, टेल अस व्हाट इज द अमाउंट. ठीक है. देन जमील इज सेइंग दैट पब्लिक डिपॉजिट है, वी नीड टू वेरीफाई. ठीक है. पर्पस फॉर विच इट हैज बीन यूज्ड, ये भी तो चेक करना पड़ेगा ना कि जिस पर्पस के लिए लिया है. यस, पार्थ इज ऑल्सो सेइंग यूटिलाइजेशन ऑफ फंड. खुशी सिंह ट्रस्ट डीड. संदीप इज ऑल्सो सेइंग डीड. मिनट्स ऑफ द मीटिंग्स, करेक्ट. मिनट्स ऑफ मीटिंग्स. ठीक है. और बताओ. सी, we are checking what? Various assertion, completeness, existence, valuation. You will see all these assertions, they have these answers only. यही सब तो चेक करना पड़ेगा ना ऑडिट प्रोसीजर करके. इंस्पेक्ट करना है तो यही सारे डॉक्यूमेंट्स तो इंस्पेक्ट करोगे ना. ठीक है. रिलेटेड पार्टी, वेरी गुड. कि रिलेटेड पार्टी से, विकास इज सेइंग रिलेटेड पार्टी से स्पेसिफिकली तो ऐसा कुछ नहीं है दैट यू हैव टेकन लोन्स. देन देयर आर वेरियस सेक्शन ऑफ द कंपनीज एक्ट. ठीक है. सेक्शन 180, 185, 186. ठीक है. यू नीड नॉट डू देम इन डिटेल, बट थोड़ा बहुत अंडरस्टैंडिंग चाहिए होगा, विच आई विल बी कवरिंग विथ यू इन द नेक्स्ट सेशन, तो वो भी ऑडिटर विल चेक. ठीक है. व्हाट एल्स? Lease and hire purchase, Khushi, you are correct. Lease and hire purchase, these are also kind of borrowings only ना. So इनके underlying agreements भी तो check करेंगे ना, ठीक है. Then शॉर्ट टर्म है, लॉन्ग टर्म, वेरी गुड. हु हैज गिवन दिस आंसर? वृंदा. शॉर्ट टर्म है, लॉन्ग टर्म है, इसका भी तो स्केड्यूल लेना पड़ेगा ना, क्योंकि देखना पड़ेगा कि किसके कब मेच्योरिटीज है, किस कंप्लीटनेस चेक करना है, तो यही तो चेक करना पड़ेगा ना. कंफर्मेशन ले लोगे ना कि ऑल आ गया है ना, इसके अलावा तो कुछ नहीं है. एग्जिस्टेंस चेक करना है तो भी तो ये अग्रीमेंट्स, ट्रस्ट डीड, ये सब चेक कर लोगे. एंड वैल्यूएशन के लिए भी आप ये सब चेक कर लोगे, ठीक है. तो अभी के लिए आई एम नॉट स्टार्टिंग विद this concept in detail. Abhi we have discussed the general points. We have a session tomorrow itself, है ना. Monday को है हमारा session. तो उससे पहले ना just do one thing. See, now students, after I shared Shrishti's and message from Nitin, I've got a number of queries from your side or number of messages from your side that ma'am, we also want to send such message to you that we have got what 70 marks, ठीक है. And this can be done, ठीक है. How? See students, with respect to this chapter number 9, which I told you is very important and it is very secure scoring. Why? Because you have already done the provisions in Companies Act, you have already done accounting standards, but it need a little effort from your side. Do one thing. Abhi it is 8:30. So before, starting with some other subject, now just go through the chapter till where we have done. I think till page number 20 I have done. Isse zyada to we haven't done today. Let me just see. 18. ठीक है. और उसमें भी one note we have left. Just go through the chapter in entirety. एक line पढ़ना and left side पे just make a summary. And when you make a summary, because today you have seen as to how to make the summaries, है ना. देखो reduction of capital का. Those who want to take a screenshot can take a picture. आइडिया लग जाएगा कि कैसे समरी बनाना है. ये किसका है? रिडक्शन ऑफ कैपिटल का. ये किसका है? स्वेट इक्विटी शेयर्स का. एंड ये किसका है? शेयर कैपिटल का. द एंटायर शेयर कैपिटल, आई विल डू वन थिंग, आई विल मिनिमाइज इट जस्ट अ मिनट. सो एंटायर शेयर कैपिटल इज हियर, ठीक है. सो दिस इज द वे यू नीड टू मेक अ समरी. And once you make a summary, your entire chapter is you are going to learn it by heart because you have yourself made a summary. Okay? So for all those who want to score good marks, please try to read this chapter today itself. It will not take more than 45 minutes. Okay? And try to make this summary. See, share capital, it is giving you a bird's eye view as to what to write when you get to write about what existence completeness valuation. ठीक है. तो एक लास्ट पॉइंट आई थिंक इसके अंदर शेयर कैपिटल में थोड़ा सा जो रह गया वो नीचे यही है कि फीस का लिखना है. दैट्स इट. इसके अलावा देयर इज नथिंग टू बी डन. ठीक है. बट येस, योर हार्ड वर्क, योर एफर्ट्स विल बी रिक्वायर्ड. ठीक है. सो विद अ वेरी पॉजिटिव नोट, है ना, एंड with assuming this is implied that you will be following these techniques, you will be actually studying hard the way I'm telling you will definitely get good marks like Srishti have scored. Okay? So thank you students for a patient listening, and please send in your replies whether you have understood. If any of your replies is unanswered, queries is unanswered, like if it is overlooked, please send it to me on the email ID that I have shared. Okay? So thank you, good night, and see you tomorrow.